What nobody wants to say about sex. I'm going to say the things that nobody wants to say. The taboo topics. The reason I'm going to say them is because I want to alleviate the shame around sex. I'm a religious person. I believe in God. And I know that there's a lot of things about not accepting ourselves sexually that creates shame. There's some things about sex that nobody wants to say. Now I'm warning you, this video might make you really, really uncomfortable. And that's exactly why you need to watch it. As a sex addiction therapist, I understand that shame and shame around sexuality leads to lying and secrecy and addiction. For that reason, I want to address some of the hard things to say about sex so that you don't have to lie about them and realize that you're normal so that it alleviates some of the shame. So let's talk about what they are. Addiction's best friend is secrecy. And so when there's a lot of shame around sex, it leads to secrecy. Avoiding openness and honesty about who you are actually leads to problems like addiction and acting out sexually. So it's important to be able to accept yourself and understand that you're not perverted, you're not broken, and you're not alone with having certain feelings and thoughts when it comes to your sexuality. Sexual repression actually leads to sexual acting out. So the more you stuff it and the more you fake it like it's not there, it gives it more power and it becomes more and more deviant because it's deep, deep down and it has a way of bringing itself up and bringing itself out. So it's important to be able to address what's going on with yourself sexually and be honest and open about it and be able to accept it so that it doesn't turn into this deviant behavior. My practice where I treat sexual addiction is actually very interesting because I work in a very highly religious area where a lot of people believe in a religion. And for those reasons, my practice is very full. Now think about that. I treat sex addiction, yet I'm in a highly religious area. Why is that? The reason is because high rigidity and a lot of shame around sexuality leads to acting out. So it's important to understand that when there is rigidity, when there is religion and it's sending you certain messages about sex, it doesn't mean that you have to repress it and not accept who you are as a sexual being. First off, what does taboo mean? So I'm going to read you the definition, and you're going to see how sexuality actually turns into shame because of the tabooness of the topic. So taboo means a social or religious custom prohibiting or forbidding discussion of a particular practice or forbidding association with a particular person, place, or thing. When someone speaks something taboo, it's uncomfortable because everyone knows it's true and they just don't want to acknowledge it. When it's a taboo topic, everybody knows it's true, but they're not going to talk about it. That equates to feeling bad, disgusting, wrong. Because why aren't they talking about it? It must mean that it's not okay, even though everybody has it and everybody's feeling it. All right, buckle up because here we go with some taboo sexual statements, all right? And I know as you watch this, you might squirm a little bit, but you might also realize that is true. What Brannon's saying is absolutely true. I'm going to say these things because it's important that Christian people actually can accept these things about themselves and stop feeling the shame. First off, everybody is sexually attracted to multiple people, not just their spouse. So what that means is we are all checking each other out, all right? We're designed that way. So that can be really hard to hear, especially if you're scared of infidelity, you're scared of abandonment. But the reality is it's true. We all are sexual beings and we notice each other sexually. I once had a client come in who had noticed how beautiful the girl was who was cutting his hair. And he went home to his wife and he said, I noticed she was beautiful. I didn't do anything about it. It didn't lead to anything bad. And his wife freaked out. She couldn't handle it. He was being honest. He was being open. She came in and she met with me and she looked at me and she said, Brannon, we kind of had an argument. And she's like, he shouldn't be attracted to her. And I said, well, he is. And she said, do you think Jesus was attracted to people sexually? Now think about it. Jesus and sex, we don't mix those two things together very well, do we? It's kind of taboo. Am I going to get hit by lightning because I'm talking about Jesus and sex? I thought about it and I said to her, absolutely, Jesus was a sexual being. Absolutely, he noticed women in that way. He didn't lust after them. He didn't use them or consume them. But yes, he was sexual. Okay, next thing. Everybody has deviant, weird, and unconventional sexual fantasies. Everybody does. Some are more extreme than others, but everybody does. And nobody would like if everybody knew all of their sexual fantasies, because we all have those sexual fantasies, and it's totally normal. The third thing is that everybody has a unique arousal template. So let me explain what that actually means. Our arousal template is what we're attracted to. Some people might be more attracted to people with blonde hair. Some people might be more attracted to people with black hair. Some people have certain fetishes. They have things that they notice, things that they care about. And everybody's arousal template is unique. It's different. It's developed from your experiences in life. And your unique arousal template, there's no shame about it. Now, just because you may be attracted to certain things that may be not the best things, doesn't mean you have to act on them. But it's not bad that you have that attraction. It's not bad that you have that arousal template. So it's better to accept your arousal template rather than pretend like it's not there. I hope it makes sense why we need to talk about Jesus and sex and arousal templates. I hope you're understanding why it's important to speak these taboo topics. Okay, the next thing that might be a little uncomfortable is that everybody touches themselves, and it's part of childhood development. Sexually, you touch your genitals, you explore those parts of you. Everybody does that. And so you need to be careful if you see your children doing it and you're saying, stop it, stop it, stop it, and that's the only message they get, then you're just saying, don't do what's normal. Now, I'm not saying to encourage it and tell them it's okay and do anything they want to, but they first need to know that what they're doing is normal. And I hope that you know that if you've touched yourself to explore your sexuality, that was normal too. It doesn't matter how religious you are. It doesn't take away the fact that touching yourself is part of sexual development. You'll go through those phases. So just because you're really, really religious doesn't mean that you won't go through those phases. We need to eliminate a culture of shame around our sexuality. God and religion is way too synonymous with trying to shut down sexuality. Sexuality is not sin. Being a sexual being is not sinning. Here's another taboo thing. God is sexual. God has had sex. That's what I believe. And if you don't believe me, then read Genesis. But God is a sexual being who actually loves sex and created sex because it's beautiful. You guys, please comment below. I mean, you might never have heard this stuff before. Maybe nobody's had the guts to say it because they're scared they're going to get hit by lightning. But I'm saying it. And if it's triggering something inside of you, then I'd love to hear about it. So please leave a comment. Let's talk about what happens when we hide our sexuality and what problems start to come. So first off, I want to tell you a story. My 12-year-old was talking to me and my wife recently, and she asked the question, "Hey, Mom and Dad, what do you do after I go to bed?" And I looked at her and I kind of thought, well, we watch TV, sometimes we talk. And I was saying these things out loud. We watch TV, sometimes we talk, sometimes we have sex. And I was telling my friends this story, and they looked at me like, you said that to your 12-year-old daughter? Well, it's true. Sometimes Mom and Dad have sex after she goes to bed. Now, I'm trying to do something with my daughter. I'm trying to normalize talking about sexuality. And I'm not giving her details. I'm not breaking boundaries in that way, but I'm being open and honest with her that sexuality is a part of our lives. When we're awkward about sex, we send a message that it's bad. We encourage secrecy and shame, which leads to disconnection from each other. So you don't have to share everything about your sexuality in order to not have shame about it. But you do need to know that you can be open and honest and accept who you are. We actually build energy around the deviance of it. So let me explain. If I have something on my arousal template that I don't want anybody to know about, and I never speak it, I never own it, I never talk about it, then it festers inside of me. It creates energy and it becomes more erotic, more exciting, more deviant. So more chemicals get released in my brain, more dopamine comes in because it's something that's bad or something that's exciting in that way. So it actually leads to acting out in the ways that I don't want to act out, even though it's there, if I can't talk about it and I can't own it. So what do you do about it? Hopefully you have some relationships in your life where you can talk openly about who you are. That if there's some bit of shame there about your sexuality, you can release it, you can own it, you can bring it up into the light. Because if it's sitting in the dark, then it's creating some shame and it's creating that deviance. So look for safe people who aren't going to judge you. They're not going to punish you for your sexuality, but they're going to listen. So whether that's your spouse, or if you're younger, maybe that's talking to your parents, whoever it is, so that you can be open and honest about who you are. Having boundaries around your sexuality is very important, but we've gotten it backwards for way too long. What we've thought is, we need to tell our children, don't do this, don't do that, this is bad, this is how you control it, in order to be a safe, good person sexually. And what happens is repression and secrecy and those type of problems. What we need to do is flip it. We need to say, let's talk about who you are, let's accept who you are, let's learn how to be honest and open. And as you accept who you are and see who you are as a sexual being, now let's talk about putting some boundaries and borders around it. Now let's talk about having it work for you, and so that you can choose what you want and what you don't want. So rather than forcing your sexuality to be a certain way, actually accepting your sexuality, you have power and you can choose what works for you and what doesn't. If this video about sex has been helpful for you and helpful to alleviate some of that shame, then check out my other video that could be really good for your relationship. Why there's no passion in your relationship and how to get it back. So click here and go watch it.